Sometimes we have that craving to have something sweet. However, nobody wants to spend hours in the kitchen making it. I'm going to share a recipe that is uncomplicated as well as royally luxurious, and it's vegetarian. This recipe is perfect for those impromptu guests. I call this recipe my royal rose cake only because it's fit for royalty. Firstly, add 250 grams of butter into a pan. Followed by 1.5 cups of sugar, and 3 cups of milk, I know it's a lot of milk, but trust me, this is going to leave the cake with a creamy texture. Bring this to a simmer until all the ingredients have melted and has formed this golden-like elixir. This is going to give us the perfect buttery crumb. Let this cool and it's time to move on to the dry ingredients. For the dry ingredients, all you need is 4 cups of self-raising flour and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Simply add the baking powder to the self-raising flour. The baking powder is going to give the cake that extra softness and lightness that we are looking for. Otherwise, it can turn out to be a really dense cake. Gradually add in your cooled liquid to the flour. Continue to mix this until you have a moderately thick and lump-free batter. However, if you feel that you still have lumps in the batter, simply put it through a sieve and using a back of a spatula, remove the lumps. The reason I am gradually adding in the liquid is so that we don't have any lumps. It does take some time, but trust me, it's worth it. The rotation of my arm and mixing of this viscous batter reminds me of an aircraft propeller, which converts rotational energy into a propulsive force, or what we call thrust. Thrust is the force required to overcome the resistance of air, or what we call drag. Say for an example that the spatula is a propeller and the batter is the air. As I'm trying to mix this batter, you can see that the batter is resisting. So this is really important as thrust is what's required for us to have lift. Hence, an aircraft is able to take off. Isn't that an interesting fact? Lastly, add half a teaspoon of rose essence to your batter. This simply adds to the floral note. My batter is ready and I'm going to be using a bundt cake pan only because I feel the bundt cake pan is so beautiful and it does all of the work for you. Simply grease the pan using a non-stick spray and gradually pour in your batter. I have my oven preheating at 160 degrees Celsius and we will bake the cake for about 35 to 40 minutes until a skewer inserted into the cake comes out clean. Once my cake is baking in the oven, I've decided to prepare my ingredients to bejewel this cake. I have 1 tablespoon of chopped pistachios. You could use any nut of your choice. If you have a nut allergy, simply leave it out and you can use sprinkles instead. This is edible rose petals and you can find this at your local confectioner store. They are not difficult to get a hold of, but they are really beautiful. I've prepared a glaze using 4 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar and rose water. because I want to amplify the notes that I've got going on in the cake, and they smell absolutely divine. Lastly, to further add on to the opulence of this cake, I've decided to use edible silver foil, and you can also find this at your local stores. They are quite readily available. They also come in gold foil as well. The cake has cooled, and look how beautiful the cake turned out with all the ridges from the bundt pan. We can start off by adding on our glaze. And you can see how beautiful that looks. Next, you can drizzle on the pistachio nuts, and you can see just how opulent this cake looks. And now it's time for the rose petals. Simply sprinkle this on. And you can sprinkle some of the petals onto the sides. And last, you can add on the foil just to give it that extra glam look. Just place the foil randomly. You don't need to use too much of the foil, just a little, like that. And on the insides of the cake as well,